Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Saturday night edition of LFC Transfer Room's Saturday Night Club. We are joined today by Colin, Dean, and Anakash as well. And it's been quite the week for Liverpool, if I'm honest. And without too many days away before the January transfer window opens, we will be looking at who Liverpool should perhaps be targeting in the January transfer window, along with the Liverpool versus Newcastle United match on New Year's Day as well. And we'll bring you all team news that we know of course. Colin, how are you today? You okay?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. How about you, Richie?
Yeah, all the better to see Manchester United's demise continue under Eric Sevenhag. They have just lost, which is why we are slightly later than planned, 7:30, because we all wanted to see that extra 10 minutes of added on time, which was ridiculous. Where on earth the ref got 10 minutes added on time from is completely beyond me. I was just disappointed Forest didn't score another in that time. Dean, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Like I say, just to enjoy the demise of our bitter rivals, but enjoying the festive season and just hoping Liverpool can top it off on New Year's Day in a nice, lovely way.
Yeah, I think that will send everyone back to work happy, perhaps, if Liverpool could take another, by the way, 3 points from Newcastle, who they do look like a wounded animal, but we will get onto those a little bit later. Anakash, how was the festive period for you? All good?
Absolutely, man. The New Year's around the corner, so of course it's a good time. And what a time to be a Liverpool fan, actually, because things have been really good. And honestly, I wasn't expecting Arsenal to drop points against West Ham, but I think that is something which was the icing on the cake near Christmas. So yeah, up the Reds. I think the sky's the limit for this season, and it's really good that at this point of the season we are still alive in all competitions. And the best, I really hope that we can have an equally good second half to the season.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, actually, Anakash. That was a massively. I didn't even bother watching it. Actually, it was an absolute shock result against Arsenal. So the Hammers did us a favour. Let us win in the week. Let us batter them in the week, and then they battered the Gunners as well. Let's talk then about this match on New Year's Day, the match preview. Liverpool do, and Jurgen Klopp especially, have an amazing record against Eddie Howe. I think the points, if we go back to earlier on in the season at St James's Park, I don't think I've cheered as loudly for a long time when Nunez stuck in that winner to make it 3-2 with 10 men on the pitch. Colin, do we think that this Newcastle team have really suffered with fatigue and injuries, or do you think there's something else that's going on in there that perhaps there's not as much fear playing Newcastle as there was perhaps at the start of the season?
Yeah, I definitely think it's been a combination of both. I don't think teams are not scared to play them. I don't think teams are scared to go there. And on top of that, they have been really, really hit hard with injuries and just key pieces missing tons of time. Obviously, Tonali not injured, but still was so good for them, I think, at the beginning of the season. And all of that kind of piled on really does make the difference. They're not in the best of form, and I would expect us to really need to take care of business, I think, on New Year's Day.
It took a Darwin Nunez masterclass off the bench, Dean, for Liverpool to secure the 3 points. I think Anakash is right. It was 2-1, not 3-2. So is that going to be expected again? This is Mo Salah's last game. Is it a case of, Diaz coming back into the squad? He was obviously on the bench last time. Or do you think he sticks with that front three, perhaps, that started in the last match?
Yeah, I think you stick with the same front three. It's just a question of whether Nunez plays on the left and Gakpo plays on the left, basically. Diaz, as we know, has been a bit hit and miss with his form. He hasn't really kicked on at all this season since, obviously, the off-the-field issues, and then obviously had that injury last season. I think he will stick with that original three. But in regards to Newcastle, I'm not going to lie, I screamed like a girl when we won that last goal with Nunez. We're 2-1, genuinely. It was just a massive shock. What a turn of events between the two sides. Liverpool just been on an upward trajectory throughout the season so far. And Newcastle, like I say, with all the injuries and the problems they've had playing in the Champions League has really affected them. Obviously, losing Tonali, as you mentioned before, through different reasons. I just think a lot of pressure's on Eddie Howe as well. And I think it's going to be a bit, not the same extent as the Man United game when it was just against a brick wall. I do think they'll go down that route of playing the old shithouse rules. Let's just time waste. Let's just try to frustrate and then get them on the counter. I think that's what they'll employ. I can't really see them going full bloody for it. I watched them against Forest and they were dire. They looked tired. They looked awful. So I'm hoping we just get at them early. And if we can get that early goal, it could be any scoreline, in all honesty.
I think that's the key, like you say, is getting that early goal and making sure that, you know, we keep our shape and focus too, because Newcastle are a very good side still. Yes, they're fatigued, and it does look like injuries to Botman, to Wilson, to Isak, you know, Tonali not being in. I think Bruno's had an injury here and there. So they have been struck. Obviously, Pope being out as well for a long time. Dubravka's an okay keeper, but he's no Nick Pope. It's going to be a tough game still at Anfield. It's certainly not going to be a whitewash. I always get nervous actually against Newcastle, and I don't know why. I think it's because one of my best friends is actually a season ticket holder for Newcastle, so I just know the stick that we'll get. I mean, Anukash, with Nunez, I think Dean made a really good point. Do you play him on the left or do you play him through the centre? I've really liked seeing him on the left, but then when he was on the left last season, I wanted him through the centre. So it is sort of like it's a little bit enigmatic, really, in where Nunez plays. Wherever he does, he works really hard for it. But at the moment, do you think Gakpo is perhaps better through the middle as that false nine, so Nunez and Salah can run into the spaces that he pulls away from those defenders into that deeper midfield position? Or do you think Nunez should play on the last line of Fabian Schär, Dan Burn, Sven Botman, whoever it might be at centre-back?
I mean, I agree with Dean here that it was a bit of a surprise when Darwin Nunez came in and scored a couple of goals against Newcastle. And it was a very, what should I say, an encouraging sign to say at that point of time. And now going back to the question, Richie, I feel that Darwin Nunez would start in the centre forward position only in this match. And what I feel here is that Diogo Jota might come in the left wing position. And the reason I'm saying that is that Jurgen Klopp's front three, except Mohamed Salah, they have kind of, what should I say, lacked that finishing edge. But Diogo Jota has been our best. Has been the best when it comes to converting the shots into goals when it comes to all of our five forwards statistically. So that's one of the reasons I think Diogo Jota will get the nod. Of course, how he is fitness-wise, that of course will take a toll. Then I think Cody Gakpo will come on the left. But personally, I'd expect a Jota, Nunez and Salah front three to start. And of course, I think the biggest concern for me at this point of time is after Newcastle, when Salah and Endo go away, then I have been thinking about that time because, of course, Salah is a void. I mean, he's as Pep Guardiola used to say about Aguero, we cannot replace him. But yeah, the likes of City do have the money to get someone like Haaland. I don't know what we are going to do. But for now, what I can say is that during AFCON, it's going to be a tough time. But for Newcastle, a front three of Jota, Nunez, and Salah, I think should be enough to do that.
I mean, Diogo Jota came in and obviously scored off the bench. I think that, it'll be a testament to his fitness as to whether he starts the game or not, but we'll certainly be expecting him to see him come on and hopefully do what he did again. Anukash, are you playing Nunez through the middle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
Colin, how about you?
at times, just to add one more thing, I think, of course, Nunez has been caught offside a lot, but see, that's the thing with Darwin Nunez. Even when he's on the bench, right, he brings that energy. Sometimes when it's heckling the other team's manager or something like that. So with Darwin Nunez, you don't know what's going to happen the very next second. And I think him in the centre forward position, especially with what he did last time around against Newcastle, could be a real threat this time around.
Colin, what do you think? I mean, the reason I suppose why Nunez gets offside quite a lot is because he is literally on the last man. That's his game, isn't it? We don't want him to come deep like Gakpo and Firmino used to do if he's playing in that centre forward. We do want him on that, on that last man and just beat him for pace, especially if it's up against the Sven Botman. Would you be playing him through the centre, or would you actually have him challenging Trippier out on that left-hand side?
I like him on the left. I think that Gakpo his ability kind of lends itself more to being in the center, pulling those center backs into the midfield and making that space for obviously for Nunez and Salah to run in behind. I think when we open up that space, I find us to be the most dangerous. And I feel like we have a real trouble breaking teams down if we are not able to open up that space in behind. As you guys kind of had mentioned before, I would expect Newcastle to be pretty conservative. I was just looking at their stats. I mean, they've lost 4 of the last 5. And in those 4 losses, they've scored 2 goals and given up I think it was 10.
One of those was a penalty as well,
Yeah.
obviously, Isak's.
Yeah. And so they've in those losses, they've been really bad. I would expect them to try to be more compact. And I think having Gakpo be able to drop in and cause those ask those questions of those defenders, I think is going to be important.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see Gakpo start and drag those defenders left, right and centre and absolutely wear them down for 60, 70 minutes before a Jota through the middle comes on and just absolutely slots like he can do. And again,
he's incredible.
Yeah, he is. He's just so tenacious and he can... I think Klopp said he was like the best finisher at the club, and he put Salah in that bracket as well. Give him a chance and he'll score. Salah might need 2 or 3, and he'll still obviously score. But Jota is an absolute worldie, and I do prefer him off the bench. And there are players like that. I think in football, Solskjaer was always probably the best off the bench, if I'm honest, in football in history. But Jota off the bench just. Against the tired Newcastle defence, I just think if he comes off the bench, I'm going to be on a betting app and I'm going to be putting on that he scores because I can just see it happening if Newcastle are wearing down. Dean, let's talk about Alexis Mac Allister then, because we know he's back in training. This Newcastle team, I don't want to talk them down too much because I actually do really like Newcastle and I did punt them to finish in the top 4 again this season. I just think that they need this winter break, if I'm completely honest. With Alexis Mac Allister perhaps coming back into the team, it's such an important time that he is coming back in because Gravenberch looks like he needs a bit of a rest too. Szoboszlai was actually rested last game as well, did bits when he came on. But again, what does Mac Allister offer to this Liverpool team? And do you think it's the right time to bring him back?
Well, he's unique in the position he plays in. Our 2 current holding midfielders are completely different from each other. Endo is obviously the battler, the warrior, the samurai in the midfield, whereas Mac Allister is the architect. He pings the balls left and right. He can intercept, but he just lacks that physicality. He's coming back in a very crucial period. We're about to lose Endo, aren't we, after this game to the Asia Cup? But there's going to be a lot of pressure to an aspect on Mac Allister's availability over that time. We've got 7 or 8 games potentially without Endo. So we're going to have to rely on his fitness in all them games potentially because we haven't got another number 6. Barbachetti just obviously out long term. Same with Thiago. I know they're nearing a return, but we're going to be very, very careful with them. But yeah, I'm really, really impressed with Mac Allister, what he's done so far this season. I'm just hoping he can carry on and avoid any more injuries. Obviously, it wasn't his fault how he got injured against Sheffield United. That's what a DM is supposed to do, get stuck in, but unfortunately came out with that injury. But definitely won't start this game for us. I can't see it. I think we're going to be very, very careful. He'll throw Endo in at the start of this. He may come on depending on the game's going. But yeah, it's going to be very, very crucial over January, early February.
He is, and I think the winter break might come at the right time for him to get up to fitness. And Thiago Alcantara, I still think the best midfielder, maybe bar Kevin De Bruyne in the league when he's fit and when he's on his day, to come back in. So I think the winter break is really going to help Liverpool's midfield options, getting back up to speed. I think Salah doesn't like a break, so him actually going to AFCON. It's going to be a good thing for him because we know that Salah might take a while to actually start getting back up to speed. We've seen it before. So again, I think this winter break, even though it's 2 weeks, I think 2-3 weeks, it's going to probably benefit Liverpool as well. Anakash, if it's going to be Endo in that midfield, who else are you going to play alongside Endo in that Liverpool midfield to try to break down what is a combative Newcastle midfield?
Richie, last time around we had Elliot and Shobhaslai in the number 8 position. I'd say, as Dean pointed out, McAllister is going to be very important in this period, especially in the month of January. So I think a midfield of Endo, Shobhaslai, and McAllister would be perfect for me. Having said that, if it does happen that McAllister isn't fit enough, say, just to start the match, then I would start Curtis Jones here because, as Colin pointed out, that when it comes to that Gravenberg maybe needs a bit of a break at this point of time. I think we saw with how giving a bit of a breather to Szoboszlai helped him do well against, I think, West Ham it was in the League Cup recently. So I think those are one of the things that need to be taken care of. That management has to be there, and I think with Thiago coming in soon. And things might get better in the midfield area, and there would be more competition, especially with the us getting into the business end of the season, more games coming in thick and fast. So I think the midfield three of McAllister, Endo, and Shobo would do well, and of course, how McAllister can adapt in this match will go a long way into how he performs over the next 1 month. Because coming after injury, it's not the easiest, but he has a lot riding on his shoulders. Because as soon as Endo goes out, the next 1 month is going to define how Liverpool is going to end this season. Because at the end of the day, this is the January, February month period which really defines the season come the end of May.
I agree. I think, Liverpool's midfield, the engine room was a massive glaring weakness, and the reason why we didn't get Champions League football last year. You can see the difference and the energy that a new midfield has brought. I think, McAllister has got a lot of stick really in playing a position that he's not familiar with, but actually he's done extremely well. So that Liverpool midfield, the second half of the season, if they can all stay fit, healthy, we get Thiago back as well. That's a recipe for success in my eyes. Colin, let's talk. We've spoken about the attack. Let's talk about the defence, because we've spoken about the attack in the midfield. Who's your back four? We have seen a little bit of rotation. We've seen Quansah not pictured in training over this week. Hopefully that's just precautionary. Maybe he was doing media duties. Maybe he was doing something else. He's been impressive, though, for me. I think he's been phenomenal. And, even seeing him on the team sheet, if it's not Gomez there at centre-back or Konate at centre-back and I see Quansah, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm absolutely fine with it. Can you see Quansah starting again? Can you see a bit of rotation coming in? Can you see Konate coming back in? I mean, who's your back four if Alisson starts in goal, which we expect him to?
Yeah. I think, almost unfortunately, I think this back four picks itself. I think it's obviously it's Trent. I think it has to be Konate, Virgil, obviously, and Joe Gomez, platooning at left back is the only real option we have there at the moment against a team like Newcastle. I think I don't think you risk putting in the under 21 left back in. Not for a game of this magnitude, not when we need the points to stay first. So, I wouldn't be, if Quansah is in the starting lineup. I fully trust him. He's been outstanding, especially if he's playing with Virgil. I wouldn't have any worries about that. But based on, like you said, his record in training this week and him not being there consistently, I don't see that happening. I don't think there's really any deviations from that I could see, unless there is some other something else that has popped up since then.
I think Virgil has just become the absolute colossus at the back, Dean. And, ever since his return this season, he's back to his absolute best. I struggle to think of a better centre-back in the world, right now. And I think anyone playing alongside of Virgil van Dijk looks good. Dejan Lovren looked like Jaap Stam sometimes next to him. So, Virgil is the heart of that Liverpool defence. You've obviously got Trent coming in from the right-hand side as well. Robertson isn't back in training yet, but he's quite close. And again, that winter break might really, really help him and Tsimikas too. So we expect Gomez to start on that left-hand side. But even then, I thought Tsimikas coming in has done a good job. If we're getting Robertson back, it also looks like now we've got numbers in defence too. With Quansah coming in, we know that Matip is most likely ruled out for the season. But actually, if you've got Van Dijk, Quansah, Konate, and perhaps Gomez, who can obviously fill that centre-back role too, it looks like Liverpool are quite equipped in that centre-back position. Do you agree?
It's a tough one. On paper, you turn around and say, yeah, it's all there. But we all know about Konate's questionable injury record. Van Dijk is, 31 now? 31?
32 or 3, I think.
That's okay. So you've got obviously a few more years left in Virgil, but you want his minutes to start going down in the next season or so. Gomez has obviously got injury issues as well. Quansah, as much as he has been very, very impressive this season, we can all agree on that. He's still a kid. You don't want to throw him in to 38 games a season, 40 games a season straight off the bounce. So I do think long term we will need somebody else to come in, whether that's now or in summer. We'll have to see. I do think with them injury records, it is definitely a case for to bring somebody in. Because as much as I admire Konate, he'll just pick up a random injury out of nowhere. He'll be playing for 4 or 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden, oh right, yeah, he's picked up an injury in training, and we didn't even think about it, and he's out for another month, and it's like, oh, okay. But like Lovren did that to I know he's not as good as Konate. He went on a run of 6-7 games, and he was brilliant. Then he got injured, and then he come back and he was pulling errors left, right, and centre. But I keep seeing these things about getting a left back in. I don't know what you guys think on it. Short term, yeah, we need a left back because we're basically playing a centre back at left back. But my question is, we bring a left back in, we've been linked to this Robinson from Fulham. Tsimikas comes back fit eventually. Robertson comes back fit. You have 3 left backs there who want to play football. It's all right with 2, but whoever's the choice is going to have an issue. Can you see something happening there, or do you reckon it'll be just a no-go and we just get through until we get Robertson back, and then it'll split between Gomez and Robertson?
I personally can't see us going into the market for a left back until the summer. Even then,
Absolutely.
if Robertson wants to stay and Tsimikas wants to stay, I can see that those two are staying as our left backs as well, if I'm honest, just because we know how, let's say, the transfer policy works at Liverpool. I don't think personally that is top of the priority list. We know that Liverpool only really sign 3 or 4 players a season, as in for the first team, and that's when it's needed. I would say that with Matip's injury, I could still see his contract being extended by a year, like what Liverpool did with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, give him an extra year. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that he's going to be our starting centre-back. As much as I love Joel Matip, I think he's probably one of the best free transfers in Premier League history alongside James Milner, especially for Liverpool. But I think there are more priorities out there. Endo's been brilliant when he's come in. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. I do still think we need another 6, and I do think we need a centre-back more over a left-back. I don't know about you, Anakash.
I do agree here because honestly, if you look at this Liverpool team on a superficial level, nothing seems to be wrong, honestly. We have quality forwards, we have a great midfield. I think the midfield looks as good as ever. I am, of course, not comparing it to the world-class midfield we had a decade and a half back when we had Alonso, Mascherano, and Gerrard in midfield. But of course, I think it's as good as it is. And the defense also, statistically, we have the best defense in the league. We have just conceded 16 goals. So, of course, what more can I say about Alisson? He is the GOAT, I guess, in terms of goalkeepers. So, for me, I think this team at this point of time doesn't need any underlying issue which needs to be fixed immediately. Having said that, as you pointed out, Richie, a number 6 would really help as a subsidiary because, Endo is 30 and initially he didn't start on the best of notes in the Premier League, but I think he has really adapted well now and he looks like a proper Liverpool player. You could see why Jurgen Klopp put his trust in him. But that is the thing with Pathetic's what should I say, injury issues that have been prevalent this season. It's important and vital if Liverpool could get in a quality defensive midfielder, because I think that would just complete the puzzle for now. Because I think there's this one clearing sort of thing, especially as a backup at Liverpool. That is that one defensive midfield. If in case Endo goes away at some point, or if in case Endo gets injured, then who do we go to? Because of course, again, Mac Allister has done a fantastic job, but the fact that we sacrifice what Mac Allister can do in the number 8 position, uh, that is something which we really have to ponder.
Yeah, Mac Allister is a different animal altogether in that number 8 position on that left-hand side of centre midfield. He's an absolute animal. So I would like to see him actually play there more often than not, and for us to get in a quality 6, which does bring us on to the second segment of the show, and that is our transfers for January. Now, we're not saying that Liverpool will make these transfers at all, so please don't quote us or misquote us. But what we are saying is these are the transfers that we might perhaps like. Now, I would like for Colin Dean and Anakash to keep it realistic. No Kylian Mbappe, please, because it's never going to happen in a million years. Right? No Kylian Mbappe. Listen, I'm all for optimism. Yeah, you guys know me, and I'm one of the most optimistic people in the world. But Kylian Mbappe to Liverpool is not happening even on a free transfer. So let's please do keep it realistic, but also idealistic
No,
as well.
but one point of interjection. What if it happens in the summer that Mohamed Salah goes away and Kylian Mbappe is there on a free? Real Madrid doesn't want to buy him. Then what happens, Richie? What do you think?
I think Madrid are well deep into contract negotiations now. Whatever happens with Mbappe will be decided before July. If I'm completely honest, we know that everyone in the world, every man and his dog knows. And if he, for some reason, rejects Madrid, every club's going to pounce. So yeah, ideally, listen, personally, you can call me insane. I would rather keep Salah for another 2 years than have Mbappe for 4.
Definitely, me too. Obviously.
So let's go round then. Let's go round the room. Let's go Colin Dean and Anakash. Again, no number on this, no amount of it. You can only have one, for instance. There's none of that. Who do you think ideally and realistically Liverpool would go for in January? Let's say all of the dominoes align, the stars align. John Henry goes into his pockets, finds a spare few £1 million there, or let's say that one of Jurgen Klopp's targets, like a Luis Diaz or a Cody Gakpo, is attracting interest from elsewhere, so Liverpool have to swoop in and get them. Who do you think those player or players could be, Colin? Who do you think it is that Liverpool perhaps should be targeting, or who do you think that Liverpool is targeting?
Yeah, I think Dean brought up a good point earlier when he was talking about kind of the left back situation. If we get Anthony Robinson, who I as an American, I like him a lot. I have liked him for quite a while. He fits our mold very, very well. But if you get him, then you have 3 pure left backs, and then with all very similar attributes. And if you do that, then what do you do? Because it's not a collarbone injury is not. We're not talking about like 6 months. We're talking about 8 weeks before he's back. So it's not. So ideally, I'm thinking about something that would kind of fill, someone who would be able to play both. And I think Inacio would be the best solution. Someone who can deputy at left back, who can play there if you need, but is, by trade a center back, similar to Joe Gomez, who, by trade a center back, but can play at the right and left backs. For the value versus price, and I think I think that there will be other teams interested. I could see. Liverpool kind of being their hand force, saying, okay, well, if we don't get him now, someone else is going to, and this is the last chance you're going to get. So either do it or get off the pot. I could definitely see them doing that. And I think he would be able to fill the kind of needs that we would see. I don't think we're interested in a central midfielder. I don't see that happening. I think they like Steph Bajcetic too much to put someone directly in his way. And I think that you can probably slot a couple people into the 6 more easily than you can. I'd like Gravenberch. You could put there if you had to. If if God forbid something to happen to Mac Allister while Endo is away, like there are options to be able to put someone who can just play there, or Trent goes over and we find move someone else into right or left back. I just think that one kind of fits all of the Venn diagrams of needs versus ability to actually get the job done.
Yeah, I think it's a really good shout, and it would probably be one of my shouts actually as well. I just am a little bit sceptical the fact that Liverpool perhaps could have moved in the summer with a release clause there for 45 million euros, and they didn't. But again, he seems like a no-brainer, like to me. So I completely agree with you, Dean.
We could copy and paste the answer from Colin. To be fair, it's very close to what I would say. Yeah, a left-footed centre-back would be ideal because I don't think we've had one since Saka, who wasn't exactly the greatest, and then obviously Daniel Levy before that. So is it Inacio or Nkape or Hinsape? I don't think he'd be moving in January regardless. I think Leverkusen will be refusing everything on that. But definitely Inacio would be the one for me. He's definitely makes the most sense in regards to the release clause. We could probably do that whole thing of if it's 55 million, that we'll give you 60, but let's structure it instead rather than paying you 55 up front, maybe. I would like to potentially look at a right winger, or whether not bringing him in now, but agree a deal for the summer, just because Salah's future is constantly hanging over the club's head at the moment. We do need a long-term successor, so I would like a left-footed right winger to be looked at, if not talks beginning of some sort. I fully agree in regards to 6. I can't see us buying one. I know it's going to upset a lot of people, just because, as you mentioned before, Colin, about Bajcetic, they love that kid, and they've been so careful with him, and this is why we signed Endo, somebody who can just come in for a couple of years and help bridge the gap, and obviously Mac Allister is filling in for now, because that's another point to quickly make. Klopp likes 2 players per position. On that left side, you've got Jones and Gravenberg. On that right side, you've got Szoboszlai and Elliott. And then currently the 6, you've got Mac Allister and Endo and Bajcetic. Throwing another lad in, you can have probably, I know some people have loads of players in there. We all do. We all play FIFA or Football Manager. We'd love to have unlimited options. But realistically, that's not going to happen from a budget point of view and from a squad management point of view. I personally would like a number 6, but I can't see the club getting one. But I would definitely like a left-footed centre-back, and then like a Bakayoko, I think it is, plays for PSV on that right side.
Yeah.
Whether we bring him in now to bridge him in for the summer, if Salah is going to go, or a case of starting to talk for the summer.
I mean, for me, there's only one player I think, realistically, who I'd replace Salah with, and that's Jared Bowen. I
Too old.
I can't see anyone else coming in. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think he's brilliant. I can't see anyone else coming in. He's just hitting his prime, and then it gives Liverpool perhaps 2 or 3 years to really then bring a Salah regen in. I agree. I can't see that another midfielder coming in, especially as a 6, mainly because there's actually not that many options. The one that Liverpool, again, hindsight, wonderful thing, didn't know at the time that Henderson and Fabinho were going, but Manuel Ugarte, PSG had a free run at. He was the one really to replace Fabinho in the long run. And that's not to say he would have chosen Liverpool anyway. I'm sure PSG showed him all of the money in the world that he could ever desire. But he for me was the one. But there doesn't seem too many options at 6. Lots of people are saying were saying Florentino Luis we should bring in. We should be, bringing in Caicedo, that obviously fell through. We should have brought in Lavia. And people were really wanting these players. But actually, none of those players this season has hit the heights, dare I even say, of Endo, which for 16 million from Stuttgart for a 30-year-old, Caicedo hasn't been better for me than Endo. Lavia has played 10 minutes of football, and I don't watch too much of the Portuguese league, but I do flick it on from time to time. And Florentino Luis hasn't really set the world alight, so I just don't know if there's the availability there as a 6 at the moment in January. There might be in the summer, but I don't think teams are going to want to sell a 6 in that position where a bidding war could perhaps take place in the summer to a team now in January. Anakash, what do you think?
Rishi, honestly, if you had asked me this question 1 month back, I would have said that Andre Trinidad was bang on to sign for Liverpool in January, and I mean, speculation seemed rife, and it seemed that it could happen. But now, of course, journalists have ruled it out very vociferously. In fact, I would like to tell you, we had James Pierce from the Athletic on the Indie Football podcast last month. He very clearly said that there's no way that Andre Trinidad is going to come to Liverpool. So, personally, I really like Palacios from Bayern Leverkusen and Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. But I know that at this point of the season, none of them are going to come in, especially with the seasons Bayern Leverkusen and Aston Villa are having at this point of time. For a centre half, of course, as the panel agrees that Inacio would be a no-brainer. Having said that, it's what Liverpool does is that they have the profile of a player already logged in for 4 or 5 years. They do a proper research over it. We have been doing that since the Michael Edwards era. And I think if Liverpool really wanted Inacio, they would have went in the summer and not waited for him to sign another contract extension and for his release clause to be 20 million pounds more. So I don't know. I don't see it happening, although I want it to happen. That is the difference. One signing which I think realistically can come in and should come in is Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace. First of all, he's homegrown, has played well, and I think fits in the centre half role and is someone who can, play when the Konates and the Van Dijks of the world are playing. So that's just my opinion on things.
So some of the lads will know who's been with us for a while that I've been banging on about Mark Guehi for a very, very long time. He's actually not been that great this season for Palace, much as it is to my dismay. But I think for a team like Liverpool, I personally love him. I think he'll be brilliant. He fits that English quota cap that obviously we know the homegrown quota we need to be making sure that we stay on top of. So I agree with you, Anakash. I think Guehi would be absolutely phenomenal. I just can't see Palace letting him go for anything less than 60 million, bearing in mind he's young and he's English. But I'm 100% with you on that train. I think he's phenomenal. Let's go match predictions then as we start winding down. What we think in scoreline and scorer, if there are any, Colin, for the Newcastle game on New Year's Day. Do Liverpool start with a bang? Do they start 2024 like they mean to go on?
Yeah, we do. We're going to batter them. I think it's 3-0. They're in a horrible run of form. Again, like you said before, I don't think that they're terrible. Like, they're not that bad of a team. I think Eddie Howe is a good manager. But the way that they want to play, which is very physically oriented, very sort of like bully ball almost. If you get in a spot like they're in where you're run down, you're in trouble. You're going to be in trouble, and it takes time to get out of that. I think our speed. I think our speed's going to be too much for them. Their defenders are like walking trees. They're slow as could be, and Kieran Trippier has literally gotten crossed up like 4 times in 3 games. So I think Nunez puts the work to him, and I think it's 3-0.
Nice shout. I like it. I completely agree with what Wild Dead Wolf said as well. Michael Elise now is getting back on top. Looks like an absolute threat. Dean, what do we think then about Newcastle on New Year's Day?
I think it's going to be very similar to last year's home game against them. Hopefully not the 90+8 winner required. I think we'll dominate the game. It's just a case of, are we going to score early, or are they going to frustrate us a bit like United did? I think we win comfortable. That sounds weird, but a comfortable 2-0 professional performance. I think, like I said, they're going to sit in and frustrate. If we score early, this could be anything. This could be 4-5-0. But if they go the way I think it might go, I think a 2-0 where Nunez at the back post, a couple of cheeky headers on Trippier. Won't mind that. I think just that threat on the counter from them is the main one. That Isak up top, or a late introduction from Wilson. But I think we dominate the game and win it comfortably overall.
I think if Van Dijk can stay on the pitch, that would definitely help against Isak and Wilson, because I think he'll have them both in his back pocket. He'll match them for pace and for power. as well. So yeah, I agree. I can see that there is a threat from Newcastle. I really like your point. Nunez at the back post against Trippier. That's definitely going to work as well. Whether he's heading it towards goal or across goal, that's certainly something that Liverpool should be targeting, especially if Trent's on that right-hand side and whipping him over to the left-hand side. Anakash, what are your thoughts and what are your predictions and potential goal scorers?
I'd go with the lads here. Even I feel that Darwin Nunez will score here because he's a confident striker, and I think he will be licking his lips considering that he's going against the likes of Trippier, and I'd say it's gonna be a 3-1 win. And I think Newcastle here is an interesting case study. They are having a season like we were having last time around in which like we were beating the likes of United 7-0, like Newcastle beat Sheffield 8-0, they beat Chelsea 4-1, but they lost to Nottingham Forest last week. So I think they are having that sort of a season in which you don't know what to expect out of them. But I think that they'd score a goal but still lose the match.
Yeah, there's some good predictions here. 4-0, 2-0. What was your score, Anakash? What score did you go for?
3-1, 3-1.
3-1. That was my score as well. I was going to go 3-1. I think that's exactly what I was going to go for. I'll tell you what then, because we can't go the same, I'll go 4-1. Mainly because I think that Jota comes on and perhaps Bags as well. So
I'd love that. Absolutely love that.
Me too. And then obviously we have quite a long break, which I think, as we've all mentioned, really would do the team a lot of good. It's something that Jurgen Klopp's been asking for quite a while as well. So we do get a good amount of time off there too. Okay, so there are score predictions. Thank you for letting us know yours. Before we end the stream, please do make sure that you give us a like on the channel and make sure that you subscribe to us as well. It does go a long, long way. We do have some amazing guests coming up on podcasts, and it does help to keep the channel alive every day of the week. All right, we will not be on tomorrow because obviously it's New Year's Eve. All of you guys should be out celebrating and you should be having a great time welcoming in a prosperous 2024. Okay, well, Dean, Colin, Anakash, any last words before I sign off and go and watch the Arrows? There's some great darts on there tonight. If you're interested in the darts, get yourself over there.
Happy New Year to all.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys.
Good things coming.
And I think it's a nice way to end the year that when Richie talks about some other sport other than football before we end the stream. So I think that is the icing on the cake.
Yeah, that's it. I invested in boxing, darts. It was last week, wasn't it? Boxing. So yeah, absolutely. There's always a reason to go and watch a sport, much to my wife's displeasure. But thank you again, all of you, for joining us on the Saturday Night Club on the LFC Transfer Room stream. We all wish you from LFC Transfer Room the very, very best. A very happy New Year to you. Stay safe. And as always, up the Reds. Take care. Bye.